in every team, you have to find the strengths and weaknesses and really bring those out. That's what being a mentor is.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to The Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin McIntosh. Joining us on this episode, we have the multi-talented Daniel Decapua. How you doing, Dan?
Great. How are you doing, Kevin?
Man, I am great. And people are going to find out why I called you multi-talented very, very soon. But first, we're going to dive into your career or life before your career as a real estate agent. First and foremost, you graduated undergrad with a degree in communication, same as myself. I want to know, what was your life between college after graduating and before you started doing real estate?
Yeah, so I've always had fun jobs, let's say. So I went
Okay.
from working in the legislature and I thought, man, this is too boring. I don't want any part of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
It doesn't sound like the most fun position.
no, it's not. So I went back to my passion. I was teaching tennis and performing stand up comedy all over the country. Went to work for
Mm.
Carnival Cruise Lines and touring with some big names at the time, like Dave Cook,
Okay.
Mitch Hedberg. Yeah,
Hey,
great time.
nice. Nice. Okay. So comedy, that's
Mhm.
something that you enjoyed to do. Like, how did you end up in real estate from comedy? Can you explain that transition or how that worked?
Yeah, so comedy wasn't really a sustainable lifestyle with,
Mm,
kids when I was younger, too much traveling, but I loved working with people, being in front of them. Um, so it was a for me, it was a great transition.
okay. That's good. That's not too bad. Yeah, that's something I don't usually hear too many realtors actually do as, as their passion outside of real estate comedy. Like that's pretty new. You said you've worked with acts such as Dane Cook and other big names before too. So how
Mhm.
was that? How was that experience just working with big names?
It was so much fun to be on the stage.
I bet.
I really miss it. So I'm trying to get into presenting and doing some other things that where I can use that art form.
Okay. We're gonna find out exactly how you kind of mesh your comedy with your real estate business. We're gonna
Mhm.
dig into that shortly. But you have worked or were working for one of the most popular real estate brands. You talk about the valuable lessons that you get from working with Remax.
Yeah, absolutely. Real estate is a great brand. We've got agents all over the country. I just got back from the 50th anniversary. It's really the networking, working with agents in the elite group on the cutting edge. We get together and mastermind a couple times a year. So that's what Remax brings to the table for me. From the
Okay.
consumer end, working with a global brand and people that are professionals, 16 transactions versus the average in the industry, which I think is like 5 or 6. So you're working
Right.
with an experienced agent. Um, but for me, the networking, learning about YouTube, ChatGPT, everybody's going into the
Mm,
cutting edge technology, and that's what I get from it.
really? So
Mhm.
they're actually incorporating or integrating or at least teaching agents YouTube and
Yeah.
Chat GPT at these type of conferences?
Yeah, absolutely. We're
Really?
networking, we're seeing what are people using, and in fact, I just
Gotcha.
started a course with, Michigan where I can teach Chat GPT to your agents, to brokerages, and get CE credit for it. It's a great tool. I think people are afraid that agents are gonna turn into robots or something, but we're not being
Mm,
taken over. It's
right.
it's a great tool to use.
We've had that discussion on this show before about,
Mhm.
real estate agents and technology, AI possibly replacing them and things of that nature. But
Yeah.
you're more into the investigate the new technology and see how you can integrate it and have it work for you, not against you. What are ways that you're using Chat GPT or finding out ways that you can use Chat GPT to your advantage.
When you break it down, agents are trying to provide value to the clients, right?
Correct.
So I think of a way, how can I use ChatGPT to provide value?
Hmm.
So I work in Ann Arbor, a very, we'll say, people are interested in the environment and recycling, composting. So I put
Okay.
together in ChatGPT, give me a list of all the places that recycle batteries or that compost. I got this list together. I put it together for my clients and send it out to them. Give me 10 environmentally improvements for your house. Okay, it'll type that out. I can get that to my clients that are interested in it, and I'm providing them
Mm.
value from that standpoint. I can even get to the point where I'm saying, okay, you can drop off compost on Saturdays at this location and sending that out. And people love it. So being an agent is about providing value. How can
Got
I
you.
do that? Find somebody's pain point and give them the most value possible.
Got you. Okay.
Mhm.
Well said, man. That's nice to hear. You go from entering real estate, more than likely working on a team, to
Yeah.
actually managing your own team. What
Mhm.
point in your career, Dan, did you feel like, okay, I can do this. I can manage my own team?
Right. I think a lot of agents have that question for themselves. It's a tough leap to make from being an individual agent to running a team. But you do get to the point where you have all this knowledge, you're like, I should share this with everybody, right? This would be
Hmm.
great. But you don't know how to recruit. So I'm in the middle of actually a couple months away from publishing a book that
Okay.
is about how to run a small real estate team because that's the future of the business. Small, hyper local agents that are knowledgeable about the market, providing value to the marketplace. And
Okay.
I'm a couple months away from that. But how did I decide that? I didn't really decide it. My broker came to me one day and said, "Hey, I've got this agent, and he is really struggling." And I was surprised to hear that because he was a great agent. I would have hired him as a buyer's agent beyond myself. And so I said, okay, I'll take him on my team. He was going to get out of the business. And I said, what's your database look like? And he just dropped a spiral notebook on the table and he said, that's my database. I said, no, that's not your
Mm.
database anymore. We're going to work together and really mine your database, get everything organized. And he's turned into one of my best agents. He's very steady, but he just needed somebody to mentor him, to help him. And I had created systems of offering value to my clientele. So I'm like, I'll just take everything I've done and show other agents how to do it. And I'm
There you go.
this is probably a controversial topic, but I despise the mega team. I
Mm.
don't. I hate having a team of 60, 70 agents where people are barely making a living, making 20, 25,000 a year. All of my
Mm.
agents make a great living and they know how to write contracts. They don't get their clients into big trouble. And I'm not just running this slaughterhouse of agents. I'm running agents that I'm training agents to be the best possible realtor they can be and moving the industry forward incrementally, a little bit at a time. That's our job. Our job isn't to recruit 100 heartbeats and checkbooks and
Right.
get out there and say, hey, go sell 5 houses and get in my downline.
Hmm. All right. Couple things you mentioned. What is considered a mega team? How big is too big of a team for you to manage?
Boy, isn't the definition of teams really convoluted right now? I
Yes, sir.
mean, it,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Are you running a brokerage? Are you running a team? To me, a team has you have a team lead, you have a transaction coordinator, and you have agents that are highly trained and skilled. They can list, they can be buyer's agents, but they have everyday contact with their mentor, with their team lead.
Okay.
So we're talking about, okay, you got a problem doing an appraisal. What is that house going to appraise at? Or you have a contract writing issue. You can go to your team lead and you can say, hey, can you help me out here? Um,
Mm.
there's a lot of agents out there that are just flying by the seat of their pants, writing legally binding contracts. And eventually we're going to see this in the court system. People are going to end up there because of a mistake that their agent made because the agent had no oversight in writing a contract. I know all
Yeah.
of this isn't funny, but it's true.
No, it's game. It needs to
Mhm,
be said. So thank you for explaining that. You also mentioned an agent who you said
mhm,
was a great agent, but he wasn't getting his numbers. He was struggling at the time. How
correct.
can someone be a great agent if you aren't getting the numbers? Explain that to me.
Great question. So you're on a team. Did you play sports?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, what sports did you play?
Basketball, baseball, football, a little bit of
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So a pitcher on a baseball team has a certain skill set.
Mm-hmm.
So does the designated hitter. So does an outfielder.
Mm-hmm.
If a pitcher can't hit, it doesn't mean they're not a valuable member of a team.
True. I see where you're
Yeah.
going.
It
There
just
you
means
go.
that in every team, you have to find the strengths and weaknesses and really bring those out. That's what being a mentor is.
There you go.
So if I could find, okay, what's your weakness? Is it organization? Is it contract writing? Is it connecting with your clients? Is it appraisals? And say, okay, let's strengthen that. Doesn't need to be the best thing you do. Some people won't ever be a great listing agent. They just like to work with buyers and they specialize in that. So
Mm.
finding the strengths and saying, okay, let's really capitalize on these, work on these other weaknesses, and make sure you're in this industry because you belong here. The industry needs you. The team needs you, and you don't have to be the jack of all trades.
Well said. Not man, that was a great analogy, by the way, because there's some attributes about a player or a character that does not show up on a stat sheet. The
Right.
hustle, the heart, that type of stuff, like that doesn't show up on a stat sheet, and that you can't quantify that necessarily. So that was well said, man.
Thank you.
I see you. I'm right there with you, Dan. I like that. That was pretty sharp right there. Okay, so you are also into investment properties, correct? Are you
Yes.
okay? Oh, that's what I figured. So let's talk about this. Is it easier or harder for the average consumer to obtain approval for a residential property or investment property? Why or why not?
That's really a great question. Um, I have made a living in investment properties that are short-term rentals. So I work on traveling nurses, insurance
Mm,
companies. I was trying to fill a void in my business where I had clients that were looking for homes while they transitioned or moved up. They lived in a home, they were afraid to sell it because they didn't know where they were going to go. So I said, I'm going to supply a place for you to go. And that was turned into other things and is a very lucrative business because there's a hole in the supply of short-term rentals, especially in the housing market. You can
yeah.
find apartments and things like that, Airbnb. But for me as a realtor, I have the income to get an investment property. So I can
Okay.
put 25% down. But you have to be really creative if you're buying one property or two properties. You may house hack, live in one room, and rent another room to a
Mhm.
traveling nurse for 3 months. You can make money on any property. You just have to identify what's the value in that property. Is it a long-term rental? I don't think that long-term rentals are a bad investment. They're just not going to get the cash flow you're going to get if you're more creative with the property.
Really?
Mhm,
Really? That's the first time I've heard that. So you stick to more short term
mhm.
rentals because you feel you get more return on your income investment, I should say.
You get a ton of return on your income because let's say somebody has a flood or a fire. This is Michigan. We have climate change, so we just had a huge ice storm, right?
Right,
So
right.
people had damage to their properties, or some pump didn't come on, the basement flooded.
Correct.
Where are they going to go to live? Well, you've got two kids and two dogs, and you don't want to go stay in the Holiday Inn Express,
Right. Yeah,
as,
I get
as
that.
wonderful as the breakfast is, right? So I supply a house where you can come and live comfortably while you have this basement repair done. And if we
Mm,
know the construction times in Michigan take forever, so to have that flexibility and to have a good solid renter who's I'm being paid by the insurance company. You're going to get time and a half or rent and a half to 2 times rent, and a lot of times, those clients are going to stay not 3 months, they're gonna stay 6 months, 9 months. They turn into a long-term renter.
Sheesh. Man, I just now that you mentioned short-term leases and rentals, I just have to ask this question. This is off course.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation so much about a housing shortage in
Mhm.
so many different markets.
Yeah.
Do you feel, and I know you're an investor
Mhm.
in these rentals, but do you by any chance feel that these short-term rentals
Mhm.
can be an issue or is causing the issue with the housing shortage?
100%, there is an issue with investors and people that are downsizing all meeting at the 300 and under price point. We're just
Mm,
not building fast enough. There's such a
correct.
supply issue. And do I have an issue? A moral issue? A a little bit. Yes, I do. I am supplying housing to people that desperately need it, but I do recognize at the same time that the house that I take off the market is a house that somebody probably would have bought as their first time property, right?
Hey, it's capitalism. It's the
It is.
country. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, man. Like, I mean, it is what it is.
Right, it
I
is.
was really just asking from your perspective.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes there can be some type of conflict, whether you're doing this
Mhm,
as an investor to for the purpose of making money, or if you say, you know what, let someone else get this
mhm.
opportunity. That's kind of a hard thing to kind of toss up, especially in America.
It
That's
is.
just I don't want to get too deep into that. But
No,
anyway,
we can. It's a fascinating subject. That's why when I buy a
correct.
property, I immediately fix it up so that in the neighborhood, it's one of the best properties you'll see.
Hmm, okay. We already talking about investments. You
Mhm.
mentioned house hacking. I'm a
Yes.
fan of house hacking with multifamily property or something like that. But let's talk about which would you recommend for someone to enter their first
Mhm,
time investment property? Foreclosure, because I heard you talk
mhm.
about this, or house hacking, and why?
Right now, we're not seeing the foreclosures that a lot of people predicted,
I
right?
bet.
We're
Yep.
still seeing some. So the market is telling us that house hacking is one of the best ways to go at this time because the foreclosures aren't there. And there were companies that were established to buy these right at auction. So by the time the foreclosure trickles down from Fannie to Freddie to the actual consumer, uh, a lot of them are snatched up at auction.
Mm. Oh man. Oh man. So yeah, the competition is
Mhm.
just getting even more fierce on so many levels with that being said. Oh man,
Yeah.
that's kind of crazy. But I mean, like you
Mhm.
said, not too many people are actually experiencing the foreclosure at this time. It's a different time
Mhm.
in the market as of right now. You are a comedian slash realtor, or do you still consider yourself a comedian? Let's talk about it.
Hey, once you're in the arts, you're always there. So I try to bring as much comedy to
I
real
love it.
estate as I can,
There
right?
you go. Okay. Okay. So you like to use, from what I've heard, you like to use humor to deal with
Mhm.
difficult situations.
Yes.
I myself like to do the same, but can you describe a real life situation where you actually had to use humor to deal with
Mhm.
a difficult situation?
Yeah, absolutely. You get a bad appraisal, you just tickle that appraiser a little bit, right? You get him right behind the knee, you get him down. No. There's lots of ways. Um, I think as a real estate professional in a multiple offer market, which we're experiencing now,
Hmm.
the time I like to use humor is with another agent. So I'll say, "Hey, can I leave our offer in a basket by the door? What kind of bourbon do you like?" Something like that. If I can set the tone with that agent and create a relationship with them, I have a better chance of getting that property for my client because they're not afraid I'm gonna be the agent that's gonna come at them, blow up their phone 10 times a night, send nasty emails. If you are using humor, you obviously want to establish a relationship with someone,
Hmm.
right? We don't joke around with strangers. Um,
Oh man, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, I remember you said that, and I was like, "Yo, this sounds like something I read," and you were the one that
yeah,
said it. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That was
right.
beautiful.
So So oftentimes I can win a multiple offer for my buyer because they know that I'm the agent that they want to work with. May not be the best price or terms, but they know, hey, if I'm working with Dan, he is not going to be the drama queen.
Hmm.
We are going to get through this and have a few laughs along the way.
There you go. Yeah, he's not gonna be the super serious
Yeah.
Dan, always with the firm. I
Yeah.
don't know,
Uh,
with the
right.
firm stance and la 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 la. So yeah, man,
Yeah.
that breaks the ice, man. It makes people put their guard down, makes people more relaxed. And like, I love that quote. I knew I was like, yo, I read a quote that sounds similar to what you're saying, and it was from you, man. You don't joke
Mhm.
with strangers.
Right.
You building relationship with friends if you're doing that, man. That was
Mhm.
well said. So do
Yeah.
you feel more fulfilled after helping the client overcome obstacles to get their dream home,
Mhm.
or after you've had a well-received comedy set?
Good question. I I love helping clients, especially first-time home buyers, overcome all of their fears because let's say the interest rates are crazy. They're at 7% right now. So we have a
Mhm.
lot of fear out there, uh, and people are still renting who should be buying, but they're afraid of the interest rate, and they're saying, "Okay,
Correct.
it keeps going up." Right. But if I can help them overcome that fear and say, "Hey, 100% of your rent is going to somebody else. Let's invest in yourself." And I can get them to that point, which is a huge hurdle for agents and first-time buyers, saying, "Okay, I can't drain my bank account to $1,000, but you have to take some risk in life to get where you wanna go. Don't be
Mm.
a renter next year when the interest rates might be higher or the prices might be higher. Let's get there." So I'm really fulfilled when I can help somebody who truly needs the advice and appreciates it.
Couple side notes to that too, by the way, Darren. First, 7% interest rates, six,
Mhm,
7%. It being crazy, quote unquote, is
mhm.
subjective. I just want to
Right,
put that out there because they have been fluctuating, and this, for all we know, could be the lowest it could be in the next, I don't know, 2, 3 years. It could
right.
reach 10, and you think 7 is high, and
Mhm,
it could be something different. We're not going to go back probably no time soon to what it was pandemic lows. So just to put that out there for the audience, 7% is
mhm.
subjective if you want to consider it high. Also, in regards to that, I forgot what my other point was. But anyway, great perspective on that, Dan. I
Mhm,
appreciate you. In the comedy world, or even in real estate, can you talk about a person or persons who've had a positive influence and
mhm.
inspired you to do what you do?
The people in my life that always had a great influence, whether it's my wife or my grandfather, are always people that support what you're doing. You will encounter people in your life if you say, "I'm going to do this. I'm gonna go out and be a real estate agent," or "I'm going to be an investor." "Oh, you shouldn't do that," and they'll give you 10 reasons, and you have to ask yourself, "Why are they saying no? Is it really about them?" So people that support you unconditionally in life, you surround yourself with those people and you will find yourself more successful. If you're around people that are afraid of change and afraid of seeing you succeed, identify those people and take their advice with a grain of salt. So I say, my grandfather always supported everything I did, even no matter how crazy it was. Imagine saying, "Hey, I'm going to be a comedian. I'm going to go work on cruise ships. I'm going to work for $100 a night in a two hot dogs in a Dayton, Ohio." Right?
Right.
Uh, so the people that say, "Oh, that's really cool. I can't wait to come see you," those are the people that I've always appreciated in my life.
There you go. There you go. It's really about focusing on the people who love you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, who show you love and love
Yes.
you. Yeah, and not focusing on the other people, really.
Right.
Same way
Love and
I would see
appreciation.
it. Same way I would see it. Advice that
Mhm.
someone has given you throughout your life that has stuck with you and maybe even influenced a lot of your decisions and actions. What would that be?
Mhm. Well, I've incorporated comedy into real estate, and at first I was afraid to tell people, "Hey, I was a comedian." because I thought, what would they think? I'm going to jump out of a clown car? We're going to joke. This guy isn't serious. But then I thought, why would I want to change the person who I am just to fit some profile like I'm coming out of selling sunset or something like that?
I know,
So,
right? Yeah.
yeah, I always think that we're never going to sit on our deathbed and wish that we had laughed less, right? We are
Mm,
going to say, okay, I had a great life. I had fun. I was true to myself. And the people that didn't accept me for that, well, doesn't matter at this point.
correct, correct. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. Stay true to yourself. Be yourself. Don't worry about outside factors, man. Get the job done. Thank
Yeah.
you, Dan, for joining us here on the closing table, man. You really brought some insights and made me look at things in a completely different way. Make me laugh a little bit more.
Oh,
Hey, Dan, before we get up out of here, I need you to do
yeah.
me a favor. If you have any last words and or
Mhm.
want to tell the people how they can contact you, please do so now.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to have some good laughs, you can follow me on TikTok at The Funny Agent. If you're interested in booking me for speaking, you can go to thefunnyagent.com or spotlighthometeam.com. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate the gems and the game that you left here on the closing table. Hey, man, for all of our YouTube watchers, you looking at me right now, I need you to do us a favor. Hit the like button, please, if you gotten this far. You got to do that. Also, hit the share button and subscribe to our channel. And if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, give us a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Oh, and we got to leave the audience with a question. This is what I like to do. Hey, audience, when you think of real estate companies, what's the first name that comes up and why? Leave your comments below. Other than that, I'll see you next time. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate you.